But while it fell
if we are talking about
flat on its face.
If we are talking about technical failure, well, I don't know. But then I'm telling you, it's the right decision.
What lessons have you learned?
From the issue of the candidates?
Yes, from the courts, outcome of the courts.
Well, we have to review. Definitely, we will have legal and electoral reforms. We will look at it critically and then see how it's going to stay. Not only staying, we'll see a way of even moving further, at least, and go fully electronic about voting.
All right, let's talk about the one that's got everybody talking. And it sends some jitters into the spines of many Nigerians who have been following elections in Nigeria. The Rivers rerun. The only election that won't be holding in Rivers is the governorship and the presidential election. Almost, and in perhaps one local government out of the 23 local government areas. Every federal constituency election will be holding, all the senatorial district elections will be holding in Rivers State. And if you look at what is happening from what we saw in 2015, are you making extra plans for Rivers?
Honestly, if we said we are not bothered, we'll be deceiving you. You will see that a whole day has been left for Rivers alone. You are right by telling us that the Rivers State election is a full state election. In fact, it's like a gubernatorial election because it covers all the state. We've had discussions with political parties at various levels. But I'm so sorry to say this. Once you meet with them, they will tell you all the beautiful things, but they will go back and do all the wrong things.
You're concerned with the politicians' behavior.
The attitude. They don't keep to their words. That is the first thing we know. We're still going to have a stakeholders meeting there before the elections. We'll come up with signed agreement, but on the day of elections, they don't remember any of those things that they...
But are those pacts? We've seen a lot of pacts in several states in the 2015 election, but those they're not binding, are they?
They should, because these are parties that are supposed to be custodians of the people's future. They should. If the leadership of a party cannot stand by its words, I don't see what it's doing.
Why is Rivers a hotbed? Has INEC made any research about the situation in Rivers? At least you should be inquisitive about why it is special.
Situation. We can't really say this is the. Nobody can put a point on why this is happening. But Rivers, we have our flashpoints in Nigeria. Rivers is one of them. In fact, in Kogi, as we are just ordinarily run, we lost 2 offices in Kogi.
Offices?
2 local government offices were razed. Adavi was razed to the ground. Dekina was razed to the ground before the elections. And these were people who even signed pacts with us.
And are there investigations into these activities to know
who should be paying for this? These are criminal acts, and I'm telling you, the commission is not saddled with investigation of criminal actions. The police were involved. Reports were made. They were even part of everything. I think only the police can answer that question honestly.
Almost 40,000 officials will be deployed for FCT and Rivers rerun, which will happen on the same day. Is there a reason why you're deploying so much ad hoc officials, or officials generally, for this election?
In fact, if you look at FCT specifically, I think you should look at the terrain and then the texture of FCT. It's becoming alarmingly large. With the voting points that we have in FCT, I mean, it's about the same amount of polling units that we have in Rivers. If you know FCT very well, look at a place like Games Village. It has only 1 polling unit. And that polling unit serves about 36 different housing estates. The polling unit was created in 1994. And you can see the amount of expansion that has gone there. That's just one example. We have a lot of voting points, more voting points in Federal Capital Territory than even some states now. We had continued voters registration and we went round. What we saw was alarming.
Interesting, because now Rivers, looking at Rivers, Bayelsa was a tough one for INEC.
It's just not just the whole of Bayelsa.
Just
Southern
Southern
Niger. In fact, we went back there yesterday. Southern Niger, we beat to Southern Niger about 3 times in 3 months.
If you look at that, it has a similar terrain. The psychology of people, just the neighboring state anyway. So there are people who they were in fact former rivers. Bayelsa people are former River State people. So it is a similar scenario that may be playing out. In that there's a lot of water there, so the terrain is similar. Have you learned any lessons from Bayelsa?
Number one, the terrain, the aquatic terrain or the terrestrial terrain is not the problem. It is the attitude of the people themselves. There can be peace anywhere. You can have your peace on water, you can have it on land, but it is the attitude of the people. You
were not able to access some of these creeks early enough. 6-7 hours, you are not able to get materials to these areas. Materials got to some of these areas some around 12 noon, because I covered it, and it became a very big issue for INEC.
We learned a lesson from there.
Logistics was a major problem.
It wasn't. It was sabotage.
Mr. Shoaib, logistics was
sabotage.
Really? Who sabotaged you?
Only one person was in charge of all the boats in Bayelsa. Only one person
owns all the boats.
In fact, he was in charge of all the association, and he was the one that was dictating where we would go. We had to have, in fact, they could not even go the previous evening. They left by 5 the following day. We were at the mercy, either anywhere where we have aquatic or terrain, that is what you have. They will not allow any boats to come in. It is the boats owners association that will take it there, and they do it at their own pace and their own. You won't believe that we even paid about twice
for the boats.
How
will you not be at the mercy of boat owners in River State?
I'm telling you, strategically, we've learned a lesson here, and we intend to inject it into what happens in River. Most of the things are very strategic, and we cannot be disclosing them here because we learned a great lesson.
All right, tell me about the issue of the way you have restructured your guidelines after the Southern Niger. You've merged the voting and the accreditation exercise into one. There will be simultaneous voting and accreditation. That's what INEC has said.
Yes.
That's a major one, isn't it, for you?
Yes, it's a major one.
Has that been working so far?
It's been working, especially in Bayelsa, and I'm sure it's going to work in Rivers too. One thing in Bayelsa is that if you ask a lot of people to queue up between the hours of 8 and 12 for accreditation, and you now ask them to vote between the hours of 12 and 3, or you cut in a lot of, you kill a lot of chaos.
All right. So as we round up now, Mr. Shebi, tell me, INEC has a whole lot of issues on its shoulder. We have another 4 years or so before the next general election. Less than 4 years. About 3 years, Mr. Shebi. About 3 years. That means you do not really have time. How soon are you moving to make sure that the Electoral Act conform with some of the changes that we have seen?
Luckily, and very luckily for us, the National Assembly is aware of the shortcomings of the electoral process, and they are working in tandem with us. Very soon, it's going to undergo public hearing. But the greatest problem which I've mentioned is time. If we are going to have election in February, according to the law of 2019, it's less than 36 months to this time. When you talk about 36 months, calculate the number of weekends you have there. Calculate the number of public holidays you have there. Effectively, what we have is just about 30 months for the next election. So we are working. Don't forget that we are barely 4 months old. We've conducted 2 general elections. We are going to conduct 82 rerun elections, court rerun elections, and we are doing them painstakingly. Number one, as a commission, we have one policy, 2 policies. Number one, we never tell Nigeria a lie. and the second one will not be a cut of that.
Nigerians will be watching and waiting to see all of these things come to play. Thank you so much, Mr. Solomon Shoyabi.
Thank you very much.
INEC National Commissioner. Why do I keep calling you Chairman? Okay, interesting. Maybe you become one very soon. All right, Mr. Solomon Shoyabi. Prince Solomon Shoyabi, INEC National Commissioner, talking to us on the preparations. What about the preparations of other stakeholders? We'll also be wanting to know, why do politicians kill for votes? That's next on the program. Don't go away. We'll be right back.